Okay, hello everyone and welcome. This is Impact 100 Houston's Philanthropy Friday, and we are joined today by Desmond Betrand-Pitts and Dr. Michelle Tovar from Buffalo Soldiers Museum here in Houston. And they are going to be talking with us about the grant program that they've delivered this year with funds from Impact 100 Houston. I'm Michelle McGovern. I serve on the board of Impact 100 Houston, as well as serving as this year's Grant Review Committee co-chair with Elizabeth de la Pena-Viser. So from here, I will turn it over to you, Desmond, to lead us through the talk about what's been happening with Buffalo Soldiers Museum. Thanks.
Yes, thanks for having us on. So as Michelle mentioned, I'm Desmond Betrand-Pitts. I am the CEO of the Buffalo Soldiers National Museum. I have been in this position for 7 years now, so it still seems like yesterday. But I'm within that 10 years, so it's still new, still learning every day. I am the grandson of the founder of the museum, so I have a little bit different history with the museum. I tell people I was voluntold from the very beginning, and some of you ladies probably have heard this story. The last time I was with Impact 100 was November of last year, and if you remember, from my little speech, I'm the honorary male member of Impact 100, self-designated. Um, so, I haven't been invited to any meetings since then, but it's okay. I understand the rules, that's the thing. So I'm very happy to be here. And I have my colleague, Dr. Michelle Tovar, who is our director of education. And she'll come on and tell a little bit more about herself after my discussion. But happy to be here. Yeah, our initial application for Impact 100 was for a traveling trunk program that we were developing. And since then, we've made some changes and some shifts. I don't probably need to go into detail on, the shifts in the education system and things that are going on with the Houston Independent School District and all of that. So it's a lot of things have played a role in kind of putting a pause on some of the programming that we want to do in schools. And Michelle, Dr. Tovar can definitely, give some details there. She's a prior educator and she has a community there with teachers. But it's one of those things where, we just can't push, too far in terms of, things that we want to include in the schools, but we have to do more work internally on what we can educate and the story that we share. So we're working through, some of those details, but we did shift our grant to general operating. And what that went to support is the beautiful Dr. Tovar. Bringing her on, has been a tremendous help in developing our educational, just our education department in general. With that comes programming and collaborations with exhibitions and our archives and things of that nature. So we've done a lot of work there. We've done some lecture series and things of that sort that really kind of ramp up and get people used to the museum doing programming and community outreach. So a lot of the focus has been there. Now, for me, I got my hands on several different things. We're still working to build out our development department. So I'm here in Philadelphia now with a conference for fundraising professionals, because that's the primary thing that I've been working on. And I believe I was talking to Elizabeth before the call started, just about our campaign. We launched, in November of last year. We were building it out, so we didn't talk a lot about it. But we were working to relaunch the campaign, and we did that in May of this year. So we have done a significant amount of work in reaching out to the Houston philanthropic community. A lot of the the major foundations here have supported this campaign, and it's a truly transformational initiative to elevate, enhance, and just expand our reach. We completed, well, we're almost done with the completion of the preservation project, which is a $2 million project to finish, finish. We're a historic site, so there's no finishing. But the brickwork and water and really kind of honing in on the water intrusion because we've had a lot of damage since Harvey, and so a lot of that work has been done. And then we're going to enhance all of the exhibitions. So the exhibitions that we have now, we're going to take that same narrative, improve it, elevate it, and redo our exhibitions. So some of the spaces that another question that Elizabeth has great questions, by the way. She should have saved them for the call. But another thing that we have is a rental space. So that's one of our earned revenue sources. So some of those spaces will change and shift, and with the work that we're doing with the campaign. But all of this goes to really just make Houston understand the story and the significance of the Buffalo Soldiers of African American military experience, and us becoming that educational institution that the schools need now. A lot of that focus is, building out our educational programming as well. And then the other thing is sustainability. For organizations like ours, it's been, it's definitely tough to, maintain donor relationships and make sure that we have, support coming year in and year out, and, outside of a capital campaign. The capital campaign is that pretty, that pretty niece, that pretty nephew that you babysit every now and then. And then once it goes away, it's you got to sustain on your own. And so a lot of the work that we're doing is definitely driving, that sustainability piece. And so, yeah, so the capital campaign is definitely something we're working on, building organizational infrastructure. Like I said, bringing, Dr. Tovar on, our director of exhibitions, Kale, bringing him on, making our intern, Jason, who is a very, very skilled archivist, putting him on staff, full time. He came in and asked for the job. So building a team that's really going to help to advance and move the museum forward is a lot of the work that we've been doing. And through the support of Impact 100, we were able to bring on that talent that we need, along with, support from the Kinder Foundation, who really supported our efforts in building human capital. It's very, very tough to find people who can, or organizations or funders that are going to see the value in human capital in building the people that's going to build and expand the museum. So I can go on for hours probably about this work that we're doing, but I want to give, Dr. Tovar, an opportunity to talk about some of the things that she's been working on.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Or afternoon now. Yeah, times change. Okay. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Michelle Tovar, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can get an idea of what Desmond was talking about, right? Our education programming. I was brought on earlier this year in January. Can everyone see the screen? Yep, great. And one of the first things that Desmond approached me with was, we need to have a vision and a mission for this department. And so that's something that I've been working on with him to find the vision and the forward thinking of what is the education department going to look like for the Buffalo Soldiers National Museum. As Desmond mentioned, I've been in public school education. I've been in museum education for about 10 years. Previously, I worked at Holocaust Museum Houston and laid the foundation for their Latino initiatives, for a lot of their bilingual programming and their inclusive audience programming as well. So I was really grateful when Desmond gave me the opportunity to join his museum, to join the education department. And as you can see here, the mission is to provide accessible education programs, to engage our communities and to interact with students and the community who hasn't been to this museum before. We want to create an opportunity to bring in diverse audiences into this space. And through that, we'll do it through curriculum, through workshops, professional development, and strategic partnerships. One of my main goals is building a really strong relationship with our school districts around the area. HISD is huge, but there's other districts around the Houston area that have a high demographic of African Americans, Latino students.
Hey, Michelle,
yes.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but we only see the first slide.
Oh no!
I was trying to jump in, but I couldn't bring myself to. I'm glad you did, Desmond.
Well, how about if I do it in this one? Can y'all see it there?
Yeah, we can see it now. Yeah,
okay,
I think you might have to click it.
I think it's a Google thing for some reason. It's not, I've had this issue before. How about that? No?
Yeah, we can see it now.
Yes? Okay. What about if I shift to the next one? No?
I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, we
So
see that. We
I'll
see the
leave it
mission.
here. I'll leave it on this format if that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just to give everyone a quick overview again, this is our mission and our vision. As of now, of course, this is a working document, but we want to make sure that we're focused on how do we connect to these communities that we haven't had the opportunity to connect with. Again, emphasizing African American history. Again, as Desmond mentioned, the climate has changed, right? And we've seen a lot of banning of African American history in schools, in curriculum. And we want to be the hub, right? We want to be the space where teachers, educators, students can come here and learn about a history that they're not able to teach in their school, or they're not able to expand on, right? Military history is a very deep, right, history. It could be also very hurtful and painful, but it's something that we try to expand on and show the many facets of it, right? The many stories and narratives that come from military history and all the achievements that have been brought on because of this history. By doing that, I brought in a new method of doing our group tours at the museum. In the past, it was very traditional, very phone call, in person. We wanted it to be a little bit more accessible and faster for educators to book online, for us to get their information, their demographics, the schools, the students' demographics as well. And we've been learning about who's coming to our museum, right? We see the school grades that are coming through. A lot of them come from our middle school, sixth graders and our eighth graders. So that's an interesting, for the last, from March to October, to kind of that lens, right? Who's coming here and what can we do to tap into these other grade levels, right? We know that Buffalo Soldiers is only mentioned in the TEKS during seventh grade. So it's interesting to see that dynamic, right? That not many seventh graders are coming through. So what can we do to talk about this history in these other spaces as well? And we also see that in our adult group tours, we have a lot of senior groups that come through. And this is probably because many of our senior citizens may have a history of veterans in their families. Maybe they themselves are veterans. So that's something that we hone in and appreciate. As Desmond mentioned, our archivist, Jason Fung, has an oral history background, and him and I have been kind of working together to see how can we collect the stories of our veterans in our community who haven't had the opportunity to share their stories. Many of them are from the Vietnam and Korean Wars, and those are the older generation, right, that we want to touch base with, because eventually they are not going to be here and we will not be able to collect those Black and brown stories that we should be hearing. Our community, it's important for us to have that in our community so our younger generation can learn from their experience. We've also developed a visitor survey. Here you can see it's just a quick snapshot. It's very small. A lot of people aren't used to doing QR code visitor surveys, but we're trying to implement that around the space so people can feel comfortable just to log onto their phone, and as they're going through the museum, put in their information and how they feel about the space. And then, of course, it's been very positive. A lot of people are motivated to come to the museum just to learn about the entire history. Some people come here as students to learn about a specific topic. Maybe it was an assignment for school, but we can see that our demographics are of Black and African American or white. That's the majority. So looking at those numbers, again, who I'm going to tap into are the numbers that are lower, right? Why aren't we seeing a lot of the Hispanic Latino community here, our American Indian, indigenous groups? So what can we do in our Asian population as well? What can we do to connect this history to those communities? By doing that, I've been also working with educators. We put out a call in May, letting them know that the Buffalo Soldiers Museum has professional development. And I've been doing that in a sense of creating a space where teachers can learn about the overall experience of the Buffalo Soldiers legacy. And slowly we're trying to get teachers to understand that they may not be able to implement all of this history into their curriculum, but at least they can get some background knowledge of what we've been teaching, of the history, for them to put it into their work. So we've worked with HISD, Channelview, Goose Creek, and I will be presenting at the Texas Council for Social Studies Conference in November. Well, I'm sorry, no, later this month, next week, actually. And that gives us an opportunity to expand, to reach out to other teachers in Texas who maybe haven't had the opportunity to learn about this history. Student engagement, we've been working very closely with schools. The museum has had a past history where many of our troopers, our founder, have gone to schools to talk about the Buffalo Soldier history. But of course, understanding that, you know, they're retired, maybe they don't want to do this as much. So I've been going into the schools to teach about the history. And we've been getting a lot of private schools, home schools that have been interested. You know, as mentioned, some of our public schools are limiting the topics that we can discuss in the classroom. So I've been trying to change the way I do student engagement and student programs in order for us to teach this history in a truthful manner, without omitting or removing any kind of the information that's there, because we want students to learn this history and the importance of it. We also have a really great youth outdoor exploration program that our troopers and the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department have been working together for a few years. And so I've joined on, earlier this year to kind of help, again, how can we reach out to other folks that we haven't reached out to before? And we did this by creating an online application, just very simple administrative things that could help them reach to different communities in the area. And we did have a great response this year. I think we had about 40 to 50 students around the Houston area that were a part of this program, and we'll be implementing this again in 2024. As Desmond mentioned, we've been doing a lot of community engagement work as well, going out to the community. The University of Houston, for example, has their community partners fair every year. I'm there to talk about the museum. That's a way for us to build connections to volunteers, internship programs. We've been working with the Houston Public Library, and just as you can see, several different outreach events. It's important for us to be in the community, for people to see that we are here, we're accessible. And again, whenever I meet people in the community, they'll say, oh, I didn't even know we had a Buffalo Soldier Museum, or, you know, I didn't know this history was here. And so it's good to see that people are enlightened, right? And it gives them an opportunity to go to talk to somebody else about this, like, oh wow, this museum is here, we should visit. So it's important for us to continue our outreach efforts in that aspect. We've also built great community partnerships. As of recently, we have worked with Combined Arms to be a food pantry site here at the museum, where every month veterans and their families can come to the museum, grab food, free food, and, you know, feel safe in this environment, and also get an opportunity to look around and see the museum space as well. We've had many folks who have said, oh, they've walked by the museum, they never came in, and this was an opportunity for them to feel safe, to, you know, have a moment to, you know, get some groceries, but also, you know, connect maybe to their history as a veteran as well, to talk about their own experience. So that's been a great effort. And Combined Arms also has so many resources for these veterans. I think it's such a great space for us to have, where people can come here and feel comfortable and safe to talk about that. We've worked with the Memorial Park Conservatory just as of recently. Last year, Desmond and the park had a great event, massive event here at the museum. This year, we focused on the park itself, and we helped collaborate with them, in which they taught through an exhibit. As you can see here, it's kind of like a see-through panel, and it has an audio tour attached to it that talks about the history of Camp Logan, which was formerly Memorial Park. Camp Logan, yes. So Camp Logan is the site of where Memorial Park is. And so that history is very important, because not many people know of what occurred at that time. So this was a great way for us to connect to the park, to the people who visit there. And again, this history, this African-American history that's been, you know, erased or omitted from some spaces. So that was a great partnership with them, and we hope to continue that. As Desmond mentioned as well, the public programming. This was the first year that we did a Women's History Month lecture that focused on Black women during the Civil Rights Movement. Again, not all of our lectures will be military history focused. Sometimes we want to focus on who else was a part of this, who was affected by war or military experience. So we want to connect those histories again, not just to the war to what occurs in a different space, but on the home front. We've also had our first Latinx Heritage Month series, in which we brought in two Latino authors to talk about the Mutiny of Rage. Again, goes back to Camp Logan. And then Dr. Sparza brought in his book, Raza Schools, connecting to Black schools, Black education during here in Texas. So it's an incredible way, again, to show the intercultural experiences, right, through a different lens. We've also had a great opportunity to screen PBS films, The Buffalo Soldiers Fighting on Two Fronts, which led to a panel discussion with the director of the film, and also which led to having our director of exhibitions on NPR to talk about the museum. So again, kind of doing that outreach in different aspects. We also had a film called Surrounded that is I think it's like a pretty huge film production that came out. And so we were able to host this film. And as of recently, our director of exhibitions was also on a panel for the Houston Grand Opera's Intelligence Opera that's going to be opening, I believe, tonight. And so he was able to be a part of this panel to talk about truth telling, the importance of telling honest history. And so it was really important for us to partner with them with this opera. And moving forward, as Desmond mentioned, the traveling trunk program is something definitely that I want to build here at the museum. We hope that it will one day eventually be bilingual, again, to touch those audience that we haven't been able to work with. We want to build an online educator toolkit where people can pull African-American history to put into their classrooms or our homeschools as well. And we're building our docent program. We do not have a very strong docent program right now, but we were slowly working as a team to build our docent core program. Our internship program is on the way. We're doing interviews for spring and summer right now with Texas, TSU, U of H, and HCC. So students will come and work with us here with our archivist, Jason Fung, to help build our archive. And of course, updating our living history program. We have so many people that are interested in working with us to do reenactments, to do living history. So we're working to build on that. And then 2024 will be focused on the 80th anniversary of World War II. So we will be creating public programs and virtual programs that will be focused on the history, a lot of the history that hasn't been talked about. Our director of exhibitions, again, Kel Carter, goes very deep into military history and units that haven't really been talked about in spaces. So he's really looking forward to that. And as I mentioned before, our summer youth program, and again, Museum Arts is our partner in the work that we're doing to expand the museum. We're working together to make sure that we're creating an inclusive space for the expansion and making sure that we provide those narratives that we haven't talked about in the past. So that's the work I've been doing. In summary. Let me stop the share.
Thank you so much, Michelle. That's amazing. I loved how you mentioned the truth telling in teaching history. Like there's been such focus on how some of the educational curricula have been changing in different parts of the country, and the fact that you guys are, you know, putting it back, the focus is on the truth, and that's what needs to be taught. That was a very great point. Thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Does anyone have questions for Desmond or Michelle regarding what they've been doing this year and the huge changes that Michelle is bringing to the museum? I love that.
I'll comment. You were out of breath because you're doing so much, clearly, right? There is so much going on. So kudos, you know, Desmond for bringing Michelle on, Michelle for going full force, it sounds like. And I actually am, you know, potentially going to add some thoughts, maybe ones that you've already had. But I'm curious about the opportunity to connect with the Girl Scouts organization, because I think they do a whole lot of work in trying to educate girls, and they have a real diverse makeup of their members. And there are things you can do to be, you know, badge, you know, kind of badge certified people, if you will. But I just wanted to toss that out. And there's a couple of names I know I've worked with in the past. So happy to, Michelle, get with you offline, because I know I've actually thought about taking my daughter's group down there for an experience, right? And to talk about it, because they're just not aware. So
Yes, that would be great. That's something we have discussed, if touching with the, talking to the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts. So yeah, that would be a great connection. Thank you.
yeah, of course, of course. So I'm sorry, there's one other, I'll just keep going. So I actually am connected to a woman who, she and her sister own an organization. I think it's called Full Circle Strategies. And their primary work is with organizations and helping them become anti-racist. And so talk about truth telling, talk about how do I actually do more than learn, but actually do something proactively. And so I want to connect you all, because I think their work really, I think they could maybe leverage your space. I think they could bring people there when they hold events. So I think they're another phenomenal. It's two females are sisters, and they are African American, but they're phenomenal, just phenomenal, the work that they do in this space. So
Yeah, that would be
it's
great.
another resource.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, send all of the resources.
I
No,
will.
that's one of the things that I appreciate. Even like I'm here at this conference, like that network, that just building people, meeting people, and providing resources and expanding networks. Like the money is great, yes, but what's more important is how do we continue it? How do we grow it? And so those type of relationships, exposure, that is really what we need. So we absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. We'll send that along.
Desmond and Michelle, have either of you connected with anyone through the National World War II Museum in New Orleans?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, cool.
Our archivist has directly connected with the director of education. I have them as connections on LinkedIn. We haven't touched base, but we will actually. I know that Mr. Carter again wants to work with them because they don't highlight a lot of Black experiences in their museum. So it would be a great collaboration for us to guide them in that sense. So we are going to touch base.
And maybe develop like a co-exhibit that could be here part of the year and there part of the year.
Yeah, that could broaden people attending here. Yeah.
Wonderful. I'm glad to hear that there is a connection there. Perfect.
And then I'm connected with someone in operations. So I visited, and I got COVID at that time, but I connected with their operations and their CEO there. So I'm still in communication with them. So I just have to go back and visit. But we are covering, what I'm trying to say is we're covering the different areas.
Sorry, I joined a bit late. Thank y'all for everything you're doing. And it sounds like Michelle has been doing amazing work. Like so much has happened. Y'all have been so very, very busy. I just want to throw out, if we could partner with y'all in other ways to get our members there too, like I would love to have this experience where we all come in with different levels of knowledge about the Buffalo Soldiers. And I think that could be really amazing. And it's just something even informal. We had a coffee this morning with about 30 of our members who just went to someone's house and everybody chatted. But to get our members there, I think they'd be really interested to be in the space and to kind of go through that educational experience. And then you might get some more champions locally as well.
I love that. Yeah, it's definitely important. And I believe I met Kate Deering. She's one of your members.
She's a member.
So she came and visited, and we gave her a tour. So I would love to have the full group there. And by the way, like a lot of members have stopped by.
Nice.
So since our November, and they walk up to me and like, hey, I remember you from the luncheon in November. So it works. Your model is working, but we would love to have you all there as a group. That would be great. So let's have that conversation.
Yeah, that's great.
And also even letting them know, like on Veterans Day, we're going to have a full community event. If they're welcome to stop by, because we'll have a live demonstration outside, we'll have activities so they can see the museum like alive, right? Seeing all the things that are going on a community day. So that might be a great opportunity for them as well.
So I don't know if I'm not sure, because I know that you've had some staff change, but we do give space to our nonprofit partners to highlight on our social media. So if you have something you want us to post, Kristen, what's that, once a week? I think people have an opportunity. So it's not all the time. We try to space it out, make it fair, but send us whatever you want us to post. We'd love to advertise for your Veterans Day event through our channels.
Absolutely. And the only thing I would say is that we have decided that we won't promote anything that's specifically fundraising for any of our finalists, just to try to be fair across the board. But we'd love to share any events that you have available. So that sounds fantastic. And you're welcome to send it to me or whoever you have an email address for, and we'll get it to our social media.
Michelle, I can get that to Kristen. I don't know if you have her email, but I can get that to her.
Great. Thanks, Desmond.
Is there anything else that our members can do to support y'all? Is there anything else y'all need? Sounds like y'all are doing fantastic, and just getting the word out more would be helpful.
Yeah, Michelle, you wanted to add something?
No, I was just going to say, Desmond, if you're welcome to, but I mean, definitely, like you said, putting the word out. As the museum grows, we are going to need some support with volunteers, docents. If you know anyone that might be interested in history in that aspect, they're more than welcome. Not now. I think give us like some time. We're still building our program. Again, with the changes of the museum, there'll be a complete new narrative as well. And so we want to make sure that we're, in alignment with everything. So we'll keep you all posted with that. And I know that many folks are interested in history. They call themselves, the self-proclaimed historians themselves. So they're welcome to join us.
Yeah, that's definitely the word of mouth. That's the best marketing still to this day. Continue to, and like I said, the model is working. Like your members are showing up, so they still remember us. We've made connections there. Like I said, Kate showed up, and we're one of their organizations they're supporting in 2024. So you're doing it.
That's great.
Michelle, I know you talked a little bit earlier in your presentation and about some of the challenges that have come forward with the changes at HISD. I saw somewhere in your presentation you also are working with a couple of other school districts. I know you're also just getting your feet wet as being there since January, but will you expand into some of the surrounding districts as well, especially given the challenges with Houston ISD?
Yes, definitely. Aldine is one of our districts as well. Again, when I looked up our demographics and who's coming here, we have a certain percentage of students that come from HISD. We have a lot of students that do come from outside of Houston as well. So I want to reach out to Conroe, Tomball, all of these districts that surround us as well to come in. We've been working on grant funding as well for transportation, for opportunities for students who can't have that accessibility because of the school district. What can we provide the schools for these students to come here? So yes, definitely reaching out to other communities.
That's awesome. Thank you. Any other questions?
Great questions, by the way. You guys asked great questions.
And Desmond and Michelle, do y'all have any questions for us to what's happening, with our organization or?
No, I know that you're growing because, when I was at the last few events, y'all had like really kind of sparked. So, how are things going, getting more, members involved, and I know you made the announcement about the organizations as well for this round of funding. So how's that going?
I think it's going well. I mean, so we launched in 2020, so we're pretty new. And I think, like you said, word of mouth, even for us, has also been the best growth strategy. And the first year we would have site visits with nonprofits. And I remember this board chair of a really large organization was like, who are y'all? What is your name again? What are y'all? And it was like, okay, give us a minute. We'll like, but I think now, you know, we had, Michelle and Elizabeth will remember the exact number, but I think over 120 applicants, this cycle, and, more and more people are learning about us, and in large part because of the fantastic organizations like y'all, who are applying and who are getting the funding, and people are, they're excited to learn about nonprofits that they might have not heard about before. I was talking to a couple women this morning that were like, that's my favorite part of the organization, is that you know, people get in their little bubble of like, I fund this type of work and I do it year after year, but through Impact, they get to learn about all these organizations, that they didn't know existed necessarily, not because the nonprofits weren't doing a good job, but because people just get in a rut. So it's, we're growing, still getting our name out there, but yeah, excited to be able to work with organizations, like y'all.
And our almost new member, Kimberly, who's interested in joining soon. So
Wonderful.
So excited to have our members part of this conversation, but also some prospective members as well. So. Well, if there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and close. And again, thank you to both of you, Desmond and Michelle, for being with us today, but more importantly, for doing the work that you're doing every day in the community. And we are so thrilled to be a part of what you're developing and to have helped you launch this next phase of your education delivery. So congratulations to you, and thank you again for everything that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle, I'll reach out to you on LinkedIn just to connect you with Girl Scouts and Full Circle Strategies. Should I reach out to you then for that, or Desmond should, you know, both of you? I can send a note to both of you.
Yeah, you can send me the information down there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic.
Good.
Thank you,
so
everyone.
much.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Thanks, you too. Bye, Miss Kimberly.